No one has bigger balls than Beckham.
They're pretty tiny in my opinion.
For years, David Beckham said he wasn't naughty.
Be married.
I felt hook, line and sinker.
A denial that's infuriated Rebecca Lowe.
I'm going up against the most powerful couple, and all I had on my side was the truth.
Next. According to Rebecca Lowe, David Beckham was not only a player on the field, he was one off it as well. Back in 2004, the then 26-year-old publicly admitted that when she was the soccer superstar's personal assistant, they had a torrid affair. At the time, and unusually for such an attacking footballer, Beckham was defensive. He pleaded it was ludicrous to suggest he was unfaithful to his Spice Girl wife, Victoria. The denial infuriated Rebecca Lowe. It implied she'd lied. Eventually, anger gave way to resignation. But then 2 years ago, a rather vainglorious David Beckham obliquely referenced the liaison in a Netflix documentary. Rebecca says his comments were an own goal that's now given her a free kick to strike back.
He insists it never happened. She saved the texts. You'll hear both sides, but only one has something to lose now. Do you think the past should remain buried, or do public figures owe us the truth even decades later? Drop your opinion below. David Beckham didn't just deny the affair, he buried it. For 20 years, he's existed in a world where one word, ludicrous, and the concept of accountability never touched him. That word isn't an answer. It's a wall. And behind it sits a global icon who never once said, "I'm sorry." Beckham has always played the long game. He turned scandal into silence. Silence into strategy. He knew that if he held firm, public memory would bend to his narrative. And for a time, it worked. But now the shadows of 2004 have returned, and they aren't holding back. Rebecca Lowe didn't just return with a story. She came back armed with proof and fury. Her outrage isn't only about what happened. It's about what was denied, overlooked, and covered up with glossy documentaries and curated interviews. David built a career on control. Control of the ball. Control of the brand. But this was never under his control. You can't rewrite the past if someone else owns the narrative.
It's the best way she can, albeit briefly, forget the mayhem in her life that's all too often been defined by headline.
Britain's best-known sportsman had an affair with his former personal assistant, Rebecca Lowe.
From unknown to unavoidable, Rebecca's turmoil began more than 20 years ago. She says she had no option but to out herself as the other woman in the marriage of soccer superstar David Beckham and his equally famous wife, Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham.
The chemistry between David and I was so strong that everyone was aware, and people weren't happy, obviously, because I was being very unprofessional, and he's a married man.
If you could have a conversation with your 26-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I would tell her that she's going to be all right. I'm going to cry. I'll tell her she's going to be okay and she will find love and happiness. I think I actually said that to him. I actually said, oh, no way. And then he just kept looking at me and then I gave in. So we went back to his hotel room.
What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to go?
Oh, it's just the look in his eyes and the way he looks at you. And it's quite hard not to. He's got a certain charismatic power about him. He's very good looking and I think he can easily get what he wants and he knows it.
If you had to sum up that night, how would you do it?
I woke up with the biggest smile on my face. I also woke up thinking, oh, I'm in their room and I took a shower and in the shower that also Victoria uses when she's there. So I was also felt that it didn't feel very right at the same time that I had this big smile on my face. And I snuck out and went home and I was living with my parents at the time. And my mother was like, oh, where did you sleep? And I just didn't say anything, but you could just tell by my face that I'd had a really good night. And then she just looked at me and she just said, be careful. So from then on, it was a big secret I kept and no one knew.
The balance was never equal. Not between a rising assistant and one of the most famous men on earth. She describes him as charismatic, says he made her feel special. But charisma when weaponized can blur into manipulation, especially when there's a huge imbalance of fame, wealth, and public favor. David's charm is legendary. On the pitch, it won games. Off the pitch, it won headlines. But in that Madrid hotel room, it won silence. There's a reason so few believed Rebecca. Beckham had the public, the press, and the perfect image. She had a story people didn't want to hear. A messy truth that clashed with the fantasy. And that's the tragedy. Rebecca says she gave in because he looked at her that way. But sometimes a look is a trap disguised as a fairy tale. There's something haunting about waking up in someone else's life. That's what Rebecca describes. The smile, the guilt, the hotel room that wasn't hers but felt momentarily like it could be. And then the shower, the same one Victoria used, a symbolic line she crossed and immediately regretted. It's not just the act, it's the aftermath. Rebecca isn't portraying herself as a victim or a hero. She's acknowledging the contradiction. Euphoria and shame, affection and betrayal, all in the same breath. But Beckham, he never gave us his version of that morning, just the polished family man standing beside Victoria decade after decade. Guilt doesn't disappear just because the world applauds you.
Becca admits she was infatuated, but says almost as quickly the pleasure turned to pain.
You know, he told me he'd never done this before and I was the first one, all the, cliche things.
Did you believe him?
I believed him 100%. I fell hook, line and sinker for every single cliche line he fed me. And then 2 weeks later, we were at Ronaldo's birthday party and, he's off with this beautiful model. And I was like, that was a hard night for me. That was like, I don't understand. And realization started to hit me that I've been massively played.
That kind of pressure in our marriage.
I got the whole homewrecker thing again. Oh, you're a homewrecker. And then I just went, whoa, hold on a minute.
Soccer and Spice, posing for pictures after announcing their engagement.
You don't see Rebecca Lowe's face or hear her name in Netflix's 2023 David Beckham documentary, but fans of the football superstar know she's the one he's talking about.
There was some horrible stories that were difficult to deal with.
It's an irritating watch for Rebecca, who thought her affair with David Beckham back in 2003 was well and truly behind them both.
I never one second thought that they were touched.
Then just 2 weeks later, she sees him entwined with a model at Ronaldo's birthday party. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation played out in front of the exact crowd she'd been trying to impress. David's denial makes this worse, not because he insists it never happened, but because he never gave her humanity, never acknowledged the emotional fallout, the confusion, the whiplash of being made to feel like the center of someone's world only to be ghosted in public. The heartbreak isn't just personal, it's deliberate. A man like David doesn't just accidentally appear with another woman at an event full of cameras. If it was strategy, it was cruel. If it wasn't, it was careless. The Netflix documentary was supposed to be Beckham's final word, a sleek rebranding, a controlled narrative. But he made one mistake. He mentioned the affair, but without saying her name. And in doing so, he reopened a wound that never healed. Rebecca didn't expect to hear about herself. That silence had held for 20 years. But once David acknowledged the pressure on their marriage, the subtext was clear, and so was the omission. He wanted the sympathy without the accountability. Wanted the pain without the cause. Wanted us to feel for him while erasing the person he caused it with. You can't claim your past if you're still hiding the names in it.
These are horrible stories. There were horrible stories about me. There were horrible stories about his wife, Victoria. There were never horrible stories about him. He was golden balls. He was the man. Pat him on the back. Well, hey, good for you. Nothing changed in his life. But it was all Victoria's fault, my fault. All the blame was on us.
100%. It was the hardest period for us because it felt like the world was against us. And here's the thing, we were against each other, if I'm being completely honest.
I think the fact that he referred to my claims as ludicrous, that just pissed me off even more. It makes you want to stand up for
Homewrecker. Victoria, naive. It was never David's fault. And maybe that's what kept Rebecca coming back. When the world only blames the women, the man never has to learn. Rebecca admits she felt bad for Victoria. She saw the damage, the unfairness. But where was David's reckoning? He was adored. Still is. The face of luxury brands, family values, and redemption arcs. That's the real scandal. Not the affair, but the uneven weight of shame. David kept everything. Reputation, marriage, legacy. Rebecca lost almost everything except her voice. And now she's using it. Here's what Rebecca wanted. An apology. Not a press tour, not damage control, just 3 words. I am sorry. Instead, she got lawyers, legal jargon, and PR spin. And a man who stuck to the script for 2 decades. David could have ended this. He could have acknowledged the pain he caused without admitting guilt. But he didn't. Maybe because the brand couldn't afford it. Maybe because he never saw her as worth the risk. Silence might protect your image, but it costs your humanity.
That it was quite traumatic, but I didn't admit to it being traumatic because I wanted to be brave and strong. But, some of it seeped through and got to me. And that has taken time to recover from.
A big part of that recovery is thanks to her family. Rebecca is now married to a doctor and they have 2 teenage boys together. She works as a medical assistant and teaches yoga, the one thing she says helped her through the dark days.
And it's just the wonderful reminder it gives me to slow down in life and to just breathe and to check in with myself. It's very, very important.
While Rebecca wishes she'd handled things differently, she'd never take back her time with David Beckham. She says it's her mistakes that make her who she is today.
But here's the thing. Her pain doesn't need your approval to be real. Her story isn't revenge, it's release. David built a life by avoiding this. But maybe his silence speaks louder now than any scandal ever could. When your legacy is curated, every omission becomes a confession. David Beckham never told the full story. Maybe he never will. But stories don't disappear just because the powerful choose silence. And Rebecca Lowe, whether you believe her or not, refused to be erased. He walked away from that scandal with endorsements, magazine covers, and a Netflix deal. She walked away with trauma, public shaming, and years of silence. And still, she says she wouldn't undo it. Not because it didn't hurt, but because the pain taught her strength. So, while Beckham poses in suits and smiles for the cameras, just remember, behind every perfect image, there's often a story the lens refused to capture. Some stories haunt not because they are lies, but because they were never answered. This video is based on publicly available sources, not professional advice.